Joining me now is former Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, first of all, I got to talk about these two guys who were going there. Bill Gates, you got this picture of Bill Gates glad-handing with President Xi, is smiling big and wide, and Antony Blinken, who, as we know, Antony Blinken was kind of the poster boy for things that you shouldn't do with the Chinese when you're in the private sector, taking all those millions of dollars from the Penn Biden for the University of Pennsylvania when he was head of the Penn Biden Center. I mean, are these really the right guys to be going to China to talk tough?
They're not going to talk tough. I mean, Blinken ought to just wear a T-shirt that says "Kick me," because the Chinese have already made it really clear they're going to humiliate him. They were already going to insult him. When they met with the Chinese foreign minister, Chinese leaders at the beginning of the Biden administration in Alaska, what did the Chinese leaders do? They lectured the Americans. Now, instead of getting up and walking out, the American leaders, Blinken and others, they just stood there and took it. So here we now, fast forward to where we are now. What have the Chinese done in the last couple of weeks and months? Well, they now control both sides of the Panama Canal. They have taken Chinese war vessels, are blockading American war vessels or naval vessels in the Taiwan Straits, forcing the Americans to divert. The Chinese, as you've just pointed out, they're stealing American intellectual property to the tunes of hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars a year. And they're also sending the spy balloon over the United States. And they're also now spying from Cuba. All those things add up. And to make it even worse, when our Secretary of State and their foreign minister had a phone call last week to talk about the meeting. Now, I've been doing diplomacy with China since the 1970s. The readout from that, the public statement that's always given after those phone calls is, both sides look forward to an exchange of ideas, or we hope to have full and frank discussion. What did the Chinese do? They lectured the United States again, saying all the terrible things America's going. So they're saying to Blinken up front, you want to come here? Great, we'll receive you, but we're going to totally humiliate you. Now, maybe Blinken doesn't care about being humiliated, okay, but the rest of the world cares.
But they keep looking for
in Asia in general.
Yeah, forgive me for interrupting, KT, but it's almost like they're looking for the point of pushback from the United States, and no matter how they test us, they're not getting it. I mean, what do they think? Mike Gallagher, by the way, spoke about this, Congressman Gallagher, with Maria. Let me just play a soundbite from that and get your reaction. Roll tape.
The more the administration is pining to get to the negotiating table, the more escalatory Beijing's behavior has become, because they know they can get away with it. It's time we protect our intellectual property. It's time we protect our sovereignty.
The question is how. By the way, that's going to be on Maria's show tonight, the full interview. How do you do that? How do you push back with the Chinese? What do you do that will cause the least amount of pain for Americans?
All right, you do a couple of things. Number one, the Chinese want to take the lead in all the sort of serious technologies of the future. We need to invest in American technology. And then we need to make sure that the inventions that we have and the discoveries we have, we keep them here. We don't let the Chinese have them. Number two, we absolutely don't cut back on the defense budget, which is exactly what Biden is doing. With inflation, we are having a lower defense budget than we have historically. And even then, the money we're spending, a lot of it's going to Ukraine and Europe, and it's not going to Asia, where the real threat is. And then finally, we've got to shore up our alliances with our allies in the region. They're all getting shoved around by the Chinese, too. They need American leadership. It's great to have a couple of meetings, but what we need to have in Asia with our like-minded Asian allies, and that the entire Indo-Pacific region is a security agreement, a mutual security agreement with each other, and also a trade agreement with each other.
But, KT, do we have the military might to do that? I mean, we have lost a lot of momentum that we were making under the Trump administration in terms of rebuilding the military, and the new budget is below, it's actually a negative growth rate because of inflation. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if we have the military power with which to threaten them enough that they wouldn't do things like go after Taiwan, et cetera.
I worked for Ronald Reagan in 1980, and we turned around a very bad situation, quite similar to the one today. We turned it around within a year.
Again, I know we did that, but we started by turning the American economy around. And right now, the American economy is just coasting, if not going down.
Turn the American economy on and absolutely stop the war on American fossil fuels. That it is not only harmful to our country and our economy, but it's harmful to our national security. You could turn all those things around with a different president, and you could turn it around pretty quickly, starting with fixing the American economy.
KT McFarland, good to see you, KT. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.